ain't got no boundaries to hold me back. Boundaries is what I lack. Howdy, folks, and welcome to the Conflation Station. Hop on board the next train out, and let's take a ride to a place where anything's possible.
Hello and welcome to the Conflation Station. My name is Hugo Yorway, and I'll be your tour guide for today's podcast, including political commentary, conspiracy theories, and some cool music from the Electric Glove Orchestra. At the Conflation Station, our team of creative writers and novice journalists combine elements of irony, satire, and pure absurdity to create insightful political commentary and homespun conflated conspiracy theories taken from today's news headlines. In the first segment of our show, known as the 14th Circuit, or what I like to call the Court of Public Opinion, renowned raconteur, the Reverend Rusty Stubblefield, shares his unfiltered and unhinged views about America's constitutional crisis. His topic this week is birthright citizenship. Rusty, the microphone is all yours. Well, thank you, Hugo. There's been so many amendments to that there Constitution since it was ratified in 1788 that, heck, I've begun to lose count. I could be wrong, but best I can remember, there was 27 of them when I last checked. Now, I've talked some about the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights, but for the purposes of my sermon today, I'd like you to allow me to begin my counting down them amendments in reverse chronological order. Beginning with the most recent first, and start with the 27th Amendment ratified way back in 1992. Now check this out. This year 27th Amendment has a real interesting history. She was originally proposed as part of the Bill of Rights in 1788 as the 11th Amendment, but did not pass muster back then. It actually took 204 years for our congressman to pass it. Talk about the wheels of government turning ever so slowly. If you and me ran our shit that way, we'd be out of business in a New York City minute. But as far as the United States government goes, better late than never. Or maybe not. Enough BS about the timeline. Let's get down to brass tacks. What the hell was in that there 27th Amendment that took them so long to ratify it? Well, let me tell you. Until the 27th Amendment was ratified, here's how compensation for members of Congress got figured out. In Article 1, Section 6 of that there Constitution, it stated that compensation of members of Congress, and I quote, shall be ascertained by law and paid out of the Treasury of the United States. Now, how's that for some vague bullshit? First off, the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the power to make laws. So according to my reckoning, the members of Congress gets to set their own compensation. Well, ain't that a sweetheart deal if I ever heard of one? Imagine if in your job you could set your own hourly wage or annual salary. No wonder these congressmen were so agreeable to not taxing the money you hairdressers and waitresses make in tips and you factory workers who work overtime. They's acting like they's doing you a big fucking favor when they determine how much they's going to get paid themselves. Now, how much do these fuckers in Congress get paid anyway? I'll tell you, $174,000 a year for a senator or a member of the House of Representatives. And that's been their pay since the year 2009. Now, let's do some math, or as the good book says, let's go forward and multiply. If you're a U.S. senator serving a 6-year term, you is guaranteed to become a millionaire by the time you finishes out your term. You've seen how it works. Senators like Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and them Chucks, Chuck Grassley and Chuck Schumer, they's hanging in there till grim death, getting reelected to serve multiple terms in office so they can keep millionaire status. Heck, they may even be billionaires by now. That's just what you do once you become elected a senator. It's a good old guy and gal millionaire club, and y'all thought they did it to serve these constituents and did it in the public interest. These are the same motherfuckers who just voted to take away your Medicaid and your food stamps. Now, that $174K they's making doesn't even include the perks they also get. $10,000 a year in travel expenses, tax deductions for housing and living expenses, hotels, meals, medical plans, retirement plans, and they's also allowed to earn up to $32,000 in outside income. The list is endless. And by the way, that little weasel Mike Johnson, course he's the Speaker of the House, he gets $223,500 a year. To do what? Kiss Donald Trump's ass and screw you over. Let's do a little more multiplying. Between the House and the Senate, there's 535, quotes, members. By the way, I like the way they call those folks members, because these congressmen are just that, members of a fucking country club with all the holidays and weeks they get off when the Congress ain't in session. 535, quote, club members times $174,000 per member equals 100 million of our collective taxpayer dollars. Now, here's a place to take out the hatchet and cut the budget, or at least half of it, to get those ass-wipe Republicans out of there. So what, if anything, did the 27th Amendment change? Well, here you go. The 27th Amendment states, quote, no law varying the compensation for the services of the senators and representatives shall take effect until an election of representatives shall have intervened, end quote. Well, Lottie freaking da. This means that since members of the House of Representatives are elected every 2 years, members of Congress can vote to increase their own pay every 2 years. What strange credulity here is the fact that it took 204 years to put this constitutional amendment back in its place. The founding fathers thunk it up, but yet no one acted on it for 204 years. Come on now, you originalist, where you been? Why hasn't it been acted on? I'll tell you why. Because those fat cat lawyers who became members of Congress likes that kind of vague BS found in that there Constitution, especially when it benefits they's own money-grubbing, corruption-grabbing little hands. Now, before that there 27th Amendment was ratified, there was something called the Ethics Reform Act of 1989. Ethics in government? Now that's one hell of an oxymoron. That there act prevented Congress from approving raises for themselves 12 times since the year 2009, even though they all voted for it. Without that there Government Ethics Reform Act, members, that oxymoron again, would be making almost $250,000 per year. Bet your bottom dollar some sneaky little group of congressmen will figure out a way to abolish that Ethics Reform Act sometime real soon. Now, given the current political situation, I think it's high time for you and me to come up with a brand spanking new 28th Amendment to the Constitution. The 28th Amendment would require mental competency testing for members of Congress. And while you're at it, you might as well throw in physical competency testing too. The Second Amendment refers to a well-regulated militia. Well, what about a 28th Amendment requiring a well-regulated Congress? The standards for serving in Congress are just way too low to promote the public welfare. Today, any dumbass with an axe to grind can get in there as long as they got some money behind them. Shit, watching Congress on C-SPAN is like watching a bunch of chickens with their heads cut off running around the barnyard. If you really take some time to think about it, there's probably another Bill of Rights worth of amendments that should be enacted to do some course correcting for the mess we've gotten this country into over the last 250 years. In the alternative, maybe we should scrap the Constitution in its entirety and start over again. Maybe now's the time to give the USA another chance at independence, this time from the Constitution itself. As I say at the end of each of my weekly sermons, if you and me put our pretty little heads together, we may still be able to figure out how to get this here US of A back on track. Thank y'all for listening. Rusty Stubblefield is an unemployed certified auto mechanic and deacon at the Church of Our Lady of Original Sin. In today's podcast, we are going to give the Reverend Rusty Stubblefield a little break from his singing responsibilities and instead feature the one and only Electric Love Orchestra performing two instrumental pieces composed by Dude X, the first of which is a piece entitled Guadalupe River, a piece which is inspired by the recent tragedy that took place in Central Texas. While you listen, Dude X would like you to experience the intensity of the movement of water in the river as the flash flooding upends life as people once knew it there. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with this week's Conflated Conspiracy Theories. Thank you, Dude X and the Electric Love Orchestra for creating that masterpiece, available online at Bearberry Path Music. In our next segment of the podcast, we'll be sharing various homegrown conspiracy theories that have been developed by our staff of creative writers and novice journalists who believe first and foremost that, at the Conflation Station, anything is possible. We invite you, our listeners, to share your own homegrown conspiracy theories by sending an email to bearberrypathmusic, one word, at gmail.com. That's bearberrypathmusic, one word, at gmail.com. And place the words conspiracy theory in the subject line. Today, we will be turning our attention to conflated conspiracy theories that focus on President Trump's plans to celebrate America's 250th birthday and immigrant internment camps. Our lead story focuses on President Trump's plans to celebrate America's 250th birthday. On July 4th, 2026, 1 year from now, America will be celebrating the 250th anniversary of the signing of its Declaration of Independence from England, and according to our team of novice reporters, President Trump is already in full swing making preparations for the bash. During a speech last Thursday at the Iowa State Fairgrounds in Des Moines, Trump revealed that he plans to hold an Ultimate Fighting Championship bout on the grounds of the White House as one of the celebration's many great events. Trump said, quote, "We have a lot of land there," end quote, and that he expects the mixed martial arts competition to draw an audience of 25,000 people. Ticket prices for the event have yet to be set, but true to form, Trump said the funds raised from this event will be used to offset the $4 trillion in additional government spending he stole when he signed his One Big Beautiful Bill into legislation. Trump said, quote, $4 trillion is just a drop in the bucket. People won't notice it. I certainly won't notice it. All my friends will get tax breaks. Those poor schmucks who work for a living aren't smart enough to do anything about it. And most of us will be dead and buried when the bill comes due, end quote. Trump plans to invite all of the living descendants of the 56 original signers of the Declaration of Independence to the UFC bout, with front row seats going to the descendants of the John Hancock family. Secretary of Education Linda McMahon has been tapped to referee the event. The UFC bout is just one of many events planned in celebration of America's 250th anniversary. Trump has tasked the members of the Kennedy Center's board of directors to develop a preliminary slate of events. Our team has received a copy of a leaked memo containing a list of other proposed events, and they are as follows. A full-scale roller derby match held at the Thomas Jefferson Memorial. Synchronized swimming at the Reflecting Pool located on the Capitol Mall. a gladiatorial event held at Washington Nationals Ballpark that pits Democratic members of Congress against wild animals released from Washington's National Zoo, a bull riding event at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial, bungee jumping from atop the Washington Monument, a hot dog eating competition where Republicans will square off against Democrats at the FBI building with special appearances by Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky, cow tipping at the steps of the Supreme Court building, and two historical reenactments. The first, a reenactment of the January 6th Capitol riot, and the second, a slave trade auction held inside the Lincoln Memorial. After the slave trade auction, contestants will be selected to compete in a spirited game of Family Feud based on their age, their race, their sexual preference, their national origin, their religious beliefs, and the condition of their teeth. The game will be hosted by none other than Steve Harvey. Admission prices to the events may vary, but all proceeds will be used to support the Trump Presidential Library at Mar-a-Lago. In a Fox News interview, Trump appeared to be elated by the proposed slate of events, saying, and I quote, "The 250th anniversary celebration will sure be one hell of a moneymaker," end quote. And now it's time to take a musical break and listen to another original instrumental composition by E. Dude X, performed by the inimitable Electric Glove Orchestra. According to E. Dude X, the piece was inspired by Donald Trump's disastrous Big Beautiful Bill and is entitled A Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. Stay tuned, and we'll be right back with another conflated conspiracy theory. Thank you, boys and girls, and remember, the Electric Love Orchestra's complete catalog is available online at Bearberry Path Music. On the heels of the establishment of Trump's alligator Alcatraz internment camp for immigrants set deep within the unforgiving and inescapable no man's land known as the Florida Everglades, our team of novice investigative reporters has learned that this prison camp is not just a one-off. Internment camps with names mocking some of America's maximum security prisons are being proposed by the Department of Homeland Security and will soon be trending in the United States. What is most disturbing about the Trump administration's creation of these camps is their locations and the horror and torture immigrants will experience during their confinements. First on our radar screen is an internment camp borrowing its name from California's infamous San Quentin prison. This newly established camp, located in the swamps of the Louisiana Bayou, will be named Quicksand Quentin. It will be an open-air facility in which migrants will be held captive in a giant 30-acre holding tank filled with quicksand. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem said, quote, "Detainees at Quicksand Quentin will be able to soak up the fresh air and sun in a warm and hospitable climate year-round," end quote. When asked about the Quicksand Quentin facility, Trump's border czar Tom Homan said, quote, "At Quicksand Quentin, the harder an immigrant struggles to escape, the more likely their demise will be. We won't be seeing these criminals, oops, I meant immigrants, on the streets again," end quote. Next on the list is an immigrant internment camp called Ratica, named after the famous Attica prison located in New York State. At Ratica, immigrants will live underground in defunct sections of the New York City subway system in rat-infested cells surrounded by more rats than could ever be imagined. New York City Mayor Eric Adams will be cooperating with the Department of Homeland Security and has directed the city's Metropolitan Transportation Authority to reopen miles of underground track to create a designated transportation pipeline into, but not out of, the Radica facility. President Trump cited the historical value of having an underground railroad in New York City that will be used to transport people of color to their captivity as opposed to their freedom. The next theme-style internment camp on the list will be known as Third Rikers Island, named after the Rikers Island prison located in New York City's East River. Given its name, Third Rikers Island will be a Nazi-style death camp for immigrants under the direct control of Trump's Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor, Stephen Miller. The Trump administration is currently considering places to locate the Third Rikers Island facility and, at the present time, is leaning towards Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, because of its large coal-burning facilities and incineration capabilities. When Miller was asked about the concept for the Third Rikers Island facility, he said, quote, "Love it." Last on the list of immigrant internment camps, or IICs as they're now being called, is the one that will be located at Trump Tower in Midtown Manhattan, known as Bling Bling, named after the infamous Sing Sing prison located in Ossining, New York. Bling Bling will be a first-of-its-kind detention center, offering luxury apartments and condominiums with concierge service and sprawling views of Manhattan to immigrants at a price of $100 million per unit. Unlike the other units in Trump Tower, the Bling Bling units will have only one-way elevator service going up.
Well, we've reached our destination. We'll be back next week to pick you up for yet another journey to and from the Conflation Station.